Yo, welcome to Hard Pass. I am your host, Jacques Slade. Today on the show, we've got the video evidence that the Adidas Anthony Edwards 2 is real. Paige Beckers causes quite the stir because of her sneaker choices. The grand opening and grand closing of the Stud Buds as we know them. The week's hottest release and, of course, a Hard Pass. All right, let's start the show with some hot takes. First off, Crosby kicks. He got the sneaker internet's buzzing this past week with an unofficial first video look at the Adidas Anthony Edwards 2. Thankfully, the "these things are just Yeezys, Kanye forever" comments were at a minimum, which means so many of you have moved on, and I couldn't be prouder of y'all. Anyways, after the runaway success of the AE1, the sequel is going to have a lot to live up to. I mean, let's be real about it. Between the sneaker, the marketing campaign, and the player himself, the AE1 helped quite a lot of the noise surrounding the brand post-Kanye. Not that they weren't going to be okay, let's get that straight, but Edwards' rise lifted everybody at the three stripes. I mean, Edwards has been such a flashpoint for Adidas that both Noah Lyles, an Adidas athlete, and Jordan Brand, a competitor, address Edwards and his shoes directly and indirectly. Like, when was the last time you heard a basketball shoe create that kind of buzz? And that's why the three stripes took their time with the 2. You saw the reported original leaked sample and the 2, and it had a very tepid response to it. Assuming that was the real deal, Adidas saw the feedback and went back to the lab. They could afford to because the AE1 was such a huge hit for them. Instead of the typical new season, new signature shoe cycle, Edwards ended up rocking the AE1 for nearly 2 whole calendar years. Even Joel Embiid thought that was a long time to wear one signature shoe. And with the revised Anthony Edwards 2, now we have something that has a little bit more of the AE1's energy. But I'm going to be curious to see if it recaptures the magic or even surpasses it. Not only that, I am also curious about their follow-up to the instantly iconic marketing campaign of the original. Like, can we expect another bag to be opened up by Edwards' best friend, Nick Maddox, where they trash talk second signature shoes like the Jordan Luka 2 and the Puma MB02 and the Nike Ja 2 and the LeBron 2? Do they up the ante and test people by throwing in a Sabrina 2 or a Stewie 2? Maybe they get real ambitious and add a Yeezy in that bag and throw it away, saying they, and when I mean they, I mean capital T they as in Adidas, have moved on. We'll be watching. Believe that. Keeping it on the new sneaker front, Paige Beckers broke a lot of people's brains during WNBA All-Star Weekend, and it wasn't for her game shoe. It was for what she wore during All-Star practice. Beckers debuted the Nike GT Cut 4, and that was a head turner. The cut line has quietly become a favorite in the Nike basketball family, and I'm guessing part of it is this no-nonsense basketball-ass basketball approach to design. They're not trying to be a signature or appeal to a casual audience. They are in a Hoopers audience for that shoe. This preheat version of the GT Cut 4 is anything but casual. It's got a lot of late 2000s foamposite nostalgia mixed with Charlotte Hornets colors energy. It's got some similarities to the equally mysterious Nike GT Future, but is distinct enough that anyone would be able to tell them apart even if they dropped in a similar colorway. But yeah, the response have ranged from day one purchases to Hoopers lamenting the change in design philosophy. And I get it, but I would advise anybody who thinks that this is the GT Cut moving forward, Paige wore the preheat. Nike often goes the unconventional route with their preheat releases. If I had to wildly speculate, this is just the initial offering, and later on, we will get more basic GT Cut 4 looks that won't make your eyes bleed when you look at them from a certain angle. Moving on. Angel Reese. She's debuted a new colorway of her signature Reebok Angel Reese 1, and it's the best one yet. Don't get me wrong, it's probably not the colorway I'm waiting for should Reebok decide to hook us up with the pair in the future, but the name they decided to gloss it with, Mebounds, genius. See, if you're not terminally online freak, you probably haven't heard of that term as it relates to Angel. Well, good for you, first of all, but let me save you the trouble. So, some genius hater decided to coin the term as it relates to Angel's ability to grab rebounds, a chunk of which are her own misses. It's not stat padding in the Ricky Davis intentionally missing shots under his own basket to get a triple-double kind of way, although Angel definitely should work on getting better shooting around the rim. But anytime someone posts a clip of her grabbing an offensive rebound, it's a Mebound. Of course, said genius wasn't actually smart because they didn't decide to trademark the term. Angel did. So now anytime someone says Mebound or decides to monetize their hate, Angel is within her legal right to get mad petty should she feel like it. And I'm all for it. The Jordan Trunner OS. It's a big push right now, and it's a real thing, people. Get used to it. With retro-styled runners dominating conversations and everyday rotations still, Jordan Brand's contribution switches up their Trunner line from something that is all about function and performance to something that has more of a lifestyle bent to it. We talked about this a few weeks ago on one of my reaction reels on social, so go check that out. But now they're giving this shoe the rocket thanks to an appearance of a nearly all-red pair worn by reigning and defending Super Bowl championship quarterback Jalen Hurts of the Philadelphia Eagles during training camp. The October release period cannot come soon enough. Like the Adidas Anthony Edwards 2, I want to see how this new take of the Trunner will be accepted by the sneakerhead community. Not everybody has moved on from retros and dunks, but many have made the leap and are now rocking New Balance 992s, Hoka Cliftons, and Asics Gel NYCs. All right, pick of the week. Undefeated Air Jordan 4. This is on August 2nd for $225. It's a shocker, right? It's only a remake of the first collaboration by Jordan Brand with a third party, widely considered a holy grail by a great number of sneakerheads, and is supremely influential when you look at the number of olive, green, orange, and black sneakers ever since. Other than that, it's just your regular Air Jordan 4 drop. Not really sure what the fuss is about, if we're being honest here. Like, it doesn't even have the Jumpman on the back. Who does that? Why would anyone want Nike Air on the back? Not really sure why there's such a big fuss about it, but if y'all playing along, I guess I'll do it too. Whatever. I'm obviously joking. I feel like I have to say that because some people in the comments are going to take that way too seriously. I get it. That was just a joke, guys. Moving on. Shout out to the stud buds. Natisha Hideman and All-Star Courtney Williams lit up WNBA All-Star Weekend with a 72-hour live stream. In a sports world that is dominated by brands and activations and calculated organic moments, Hideman and Williams provided fans with an up-close look at what really goes on at these events when cameras either aren't supposed to be rolling or only show you what they want you to see. I only caught the highlights of the stream after the fact, but I guess at some point, women's soccer legend Megan Rapinoe asked the buds about, let's just say, bedroom etiquette. There were also relationship rumors being confirmed at parties they attended. WA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert dancing to Knuck If You Buck, which is wild when you consider the precarious labor strife between the players and the league at the moment. And of course, cameos by stars like Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and Paige Beckers. It was a cool moment that brought fans of the game closer to Hideman and Williams and the W. But also, it was a way to capture new fans, even if they aren't necessarily hooping fans. In a way, it's kind of like how WWE's old reality show, Total Divas, aka Keeping Up with the Kardashians for wrestling, created a whole new group of fans who might not care about Monday Night Raw, but will watch any segment that has the wrestlers that were featured on that show. Look, as long as they're not culture war ass clowns who contribute nothing but garbage comments on social media defending one very specific player who doesn't even know they exist, get on the bandwagon. Of course, now that they're heaping all of this praise on the buds, do not be surprised next year if they come back around for round 2, but this time they're sponsored by a bunch of brands who will probably send them a list of best practices. In other words, don't expect Megan Rapinoe and Sue Bird to ask any follow-up questions about any progress they've made on the bedroom stuff. It'll be great because the buds will be compensated for their work, but there's also no way it could ever possibly replicate the same energy. I mean, what if one of those brand sponsors Diplo, who the buds famously tried to shut down for playing EDM, not knowing that Diplo is basically a sentient being created by the power of EDM? Look, what I'm saying is enjoy the moment for what it was, people. I just wouldn't bet on the sequel surpassing it or even having the same energy. All right. It's time for this week's Hard Pass. We'll take a look at something in the culture that just needs to go. Like pretending the Air Jordan 15 was a banger. Okay. Now, this is a joke, right? A few weeks ago, we were shocked to learn that there were actual fans of the Adidas Kobe 2, aka the Crazy 2, and that they were excited to purchase the retro of the basketball shoe that is widely considered to have played a critical role in the late Kobe Bryant's exit from Adidas. For years, whenever talk of a retro would come up, we would shut it down with nary a peep. But after 20 years, the fans have crawled out of whatever space they were hiding and proudly declared themselves fans of the highly divisive model. And good for them. We're not surprised that there are fans of the Kobe 2. We're just surprised they stayed quiet for so long. While we still think the Kobe 2 is not something we would wear unless we got invited to one of those Jeff Bezos' moon rocket trips, we are happy for the fans who get to live their truth. Which brings us to the Air Jordan 15. I mean, really. We got a secret Jordan 15 Hive coming out as well. Unlike the Kobe 2, the Jordan 15 has had a few retros over the past 25 years since they debuted in 1999, and I swear, on Co-Rider's sneaker collection, nobody wanted them, nobody asked for them, and nobody bought them unless they were part of a countdown pack. I will say there is one notable exception, which we'll get to later in the rant, but yeah, nobody was checking for 15s until the year 2025, and all we got to say is, would you look at that? Okay, so what caused this ruckus for the 15s? Reportedly, in 2026, Jordan Brand is going to bring back a handful of silhouettes from his post-Chicago Bulls days and restyle them to fit modern taste and conventions. Called the 23 RE line, among the Jordans that are going to get the treatment are the Air Jordan 16, Air Jordan 18, and the Air Jordan 15. While details are scarce on the 16 and 18, several outlets are saying that the Air Jordan 15 will switch up arguably its most controversial feature, the tongue. In the original, the tongue protrudes in a way that it's supposed to resemble Michael Jordan's tongue sticking out as he took flight. It's an interesting design decision by the GOAT Tinker Hatfield, but hey, he's been inspired by other things in Michael Jordan's life, and those Air Jordans only helped Nike become the biggest sneaker company in the world. So who are we to go against his creative mind? It's just that when we finally got to see that tongue on 15s, it was less MJ sticking his tongue as he majestically soared through the air for a feat of athleticism that only can be described as art, and more like a child telling you to f off without actually telling you to f off, because is a bad word. So what's the change to the tongue? According to the mock-ups, which should all be taken with a grain of salt because their hit rate is closer to Shohei Ohtani's batting percentage than Steph Curry's free throw percentage, the tongue will no longer have a protruding shape. Actually, it won't even have a sneaker tongue in a traditional sense. It's going to be replaced with a sock-like setup where you slide your foot in. Think the Nike LeBron 15 or the Nike KD9 Elite. Actually, don't think about the KD9 Elite because it's not going to be that high, but you get the idea. No protruding tongue, no problem. It's called the 23 RE line, right? So this is, I guess, their version of the Reimagined series, but for post-Bulls Air Jordan. Not sure why they wouldn't just keep the Reimagined branding, but whatever. The point is, Jordan Brand is fixing the thing that people despised about the 15 the most. Like, based on what we've seen on the internet, when people start ragging on the 15s, it's mostly because of the tongue. No one really says anything about the sneaker being inspired by fighter jets, or that the upper uses a woven Kevlar upper, or that heel looks like anime speed lines. We've seen people say the Air Jordan 15 SE is an overlooked classic, taking a wild guess here, but I bet the reason for that is because it uses a more traditional tongue setup. When posts about the 15's alleged change to the tongue setup started popping up, that activated the 15 stance. Yes, there are actually people defending the Air Jordan 15. You got the, oh, these aren't the 15s anymore if it doesn't have that tongue, or Jordan Brand is out of ideas, or nobody asked for this. And just like a lot of people went after us in the comments when we talked about the Kobe 2 retro, I'm going to ask you Air Jordan 15 stands the same questions. Where the hell have you been? You definitely weren't around when these first released in 1999 because they tanked at retail, and it was a damn shame because it had the most amazing commercial to hype it up. You had Eddie Jones, Randy Moss, Derek Jeter, Roy Jones Jr., and Ray Allen all ready to lead Jordan Brand into the next millennium, while baggy suit MJ walks away knowing his name and logo are in good hands as Mary J. Blige sang a heart-rending rendition of Stevie Wonder's classic Overjoyed. Never has there been a more perfect commercial paired up with such a reviled sneaker. And the thing is, we've already seen the Air Jordan 15 be fixed. As a matter of fact, it was Tinker Hatfield who designed the fix. Back in 2016, to promote the Like High Studios Kubo and the Two Strings, Jordan Brand released a limited edition version of the Air Jordan 15 that featured a reworked zip-up hoodie construction designed by Tinker. The result was a sleeker, more aesthetically pleasing Air Jordan 15 that left a lot of people wondering at the time, wow, this should have been the 15s all along. Unfortunately, that would be the only time the 15 would get a reworked tongue until 2026 when the Air Jordan 15 23 RE launches. If the Air Jordan 15 had been popping in 1999, we're not talking about the model being a part of the 23 RE line. You know how people like to draw a line separating the Air Jordan 1 through the 14 against everything else that came afterwards? It would have been Air Jordan 1 through the 15, and then everything else if it was a hit in 99. But that wasn't the case. Actually, what happened was that most people look at the 15 as the moment everything changed for Nike. I could be wrong because I wasn't in tune with what people felt about the Air Jordan 9 and 10, but the 15 was the first time I didn't hear people talk glowingly about the newest J's. And the chatter would continue with each new Air Jordan. Yeah, Jordan Brand kept releasing new J's and the sneaker community would have their back and forth with them, but it all started with the 15s. Just don't tell that, though, to the 15 stands. They've been down since day one, apparently, and you know what? Instead of harping on them and wondering where they've been all this time, I'm going to cede the floor to them and let them talk their shit. Let them speak their truth about the 15s and how they have been overlooked for so long. Like the Kobe 2s, we should know better than to assume that any signature shoe, let alone something as symbolic as Air Jordans or Kobe's, is going to have pockets of fans that deviate from the popular opinion. Like, I'm sure when the time comes, we're going to hear someone say with zero irony, you know what's really a GOAT shoe? The Air Jordan 2010. They will mean it. And they will think Co-Rider and I are crazy for thinking they were dumpster fires and probably had a small role in Dwayne Wade rethinking his spot in the brand. Of course, this could all just be contrarians and trolls just saying things just to say them, but I'm going to choose to have faith that there are real people out there, not bots, not AI, not monkeys trained by Lex Luthor, who actually like the Air Jordan 15 with the protruding tongue. It's a brave stance by myself, I know, and I hope that you two will join me in accepting these stands into our hearts. Let them like what they like. Hey guys, thank you for watching this episode. I'm not going to be here next week. I'm going on vacation, so you're going to miss one whole week of Hard Pass. The podcast will continue, but Hard Pass, we're going to take a week off. Okay, that's going to do it for the show this week. If you possibly like to be featured in a future episode, call us at 818-493-9325. Leave a short message, your socials if you want, no more than 30 seconds. All right, I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. All right, peace.